From Erikson to Piaget, how do you know developmental psychology? Question 1. A young girl drives past a farm and sees a cow. Doggy! Her older brother informs her that this isn't a dog but a cow. In fitting the cow into a pre-existing schema, the sister shows that she is using the processes of assimilation or accommodation. Because her brother was able to modify his schemas and create a new one for cows, he is demonstrating the use of assimilation or accommodation. Forgive the horrible grammar here. You understand the point. In case you don't, a girl sees a cow and she incorrectly calls it a dog, and then her brother informs her that it's not a dog but it's a cow. Okay, you got it. So this is assimilation and accommodation. So assimilation, as defined by psychologists, is one of the two ways that people absorb new knowledge. It is most frequently seen in children and immigrants, but anyone at any stage of life may use assimilation to evaluate and absorb new information. Piaget defined assimilation as a cognitive process in which we take new information and experiences and incorporate them into our pre-existing ideas or worldview. So there are two ways by which we absorb new information. The other way is through accommodation, a cognitive process in which new information replaces old beliefs. So if you think about, when you're accommodating or vacating an area, whereas assimilation is much more common, especially in adults, as information is usually processed about our existing belief system. So when you learn new information, you assimilate that information into your current belief system. For example, you may believe that your neighbour's daughter is a very nice person and one day she throws a rock at your car. If you assimilate this information, you are adding the incident to your knowledge of the girl without changing your basic opinion of her. If you change your opinion, however, that would be an example of accommodation. So here's another strange way to remember accommodation and assimilation. When babies begin to put things into their mouth, they are assimilating new information. Eventually, this assumption, I can suck anything, becomes limits as new information is accommodated. You know what? I like the lady throwing. I like figuring out that the daughter's neighbour is not very nice with the rock throwing example. I'm going to remember that one better than this one, actually. Question 2. A self-esteem researcher decides to survey people of different ages to address self-esteem change through the lifespan. He recruits participants in 4 different age groups: 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and 50 to 59. They complete a self-esteem survey and he analyzes the data to see whether any patterns emerge. So this study would be considered an example of what? It's a cross-sectional. I didn't give you much time there to think, but hopefully you understand that you can pause videos on YouTube by now. But this is a cross-sectional design. So cross-sectional study. So in medical research, social science and biology, a cross-sectional study, also known as a cross-sectional analysis transfer study or prevalence study, is a type of observational study that analyzes data from a population or a representative subset at a specific point in time. That is cross-sectional data, which is one of the best ways to do your research if you're doing a person-based research. Cross-sectional ones are the best because I'm not sure if I explain it here. But the problem with longitudinal studies, longitudinal studies are very good, but they're really hard to maintain and continue because the person who's researching may die off and no one may care enough about the study to continue it. But essentially, what a longitudinal study is they observe the same variables over a short or long period of time, and it's often a type of observational study, although it can be structured as a long-choose randomized experiment. That would be interesting. The sequential design is actually a combination of both the cross-sectional design and longitudinal design. Using a sequential design, we study several cohorts or age groups over a long period of time. Now this one, the sequential, not the cross-sectional, the sequential design is the best one you want to go for. That was my mistake. So yeah, sequential is a good way to go. Double-blind. So in case you don't know what a double-blind experiment, oh my goodness. Goo has a sense of humor, I like that. So double-blind. In a double-blind design, neither the participant nor the person gathering the dependent variable data knows which group the participant is in. Of course, at least one person knows, but this is not the person gathering the data. Question 2. I am getting deja vu. We have read this one before. So I think what I'm just trying to do here is explain it. So the same people are not being observed over a long period of time. Both the experiment and participants fully aware of the experiment. There was also no long-term study of lots of ages, so cross-sectional design is the best answer. Question 3. 2 children in the same stage of cognitive development, and neither can solve problems involving conservation of number. However, one of the children is helped. She can solve such problems, and when the other child receives the same help, he's still unable to solve them. So this example best demonstrates the concept of proximal zone development. So proximal zone of development, if you don't already know, is the difference between what a learner can do without help and what he or she can achieve with guidance and encouragement from a skilled partner. Question 4. A researcher who explains a child's poor performance on a cognitive task as being a result of the child's inefficient search strategies and the lack of awareness of his own cognitive processes would best be described as taking a what type of approach to cognitive development? Be an information processing approach. So, in case you're not really familiar with the other approaches, the Piaget's approach to cognitive development suggests that intelligence changes as children grow. A child's cognitive development is not just about acquiring knowledge. The child has to develop or construct a mental model of the world. So there it is, assimilation. If you remember before, the girl throwing the rock, do you completely change your mind of who she is, or do you just add it to what you already think about her? There's the equilibrium and so on. So information processing is one of the early cognitive theories of learning and memory. That makes sense. Was Atkinson and Shiffrins. 1968 information processing theory. Now this theory views the mind as a computer that accepts inputs and performs processing activities on those inputs, similar to the way a computer processes data. So what is discontinuous development in psychology? This view sees development as more abrupt a succession of changes that produce different behaviors in different age-specific life periods called stages. Yep, there we go. Psychologists of the discontinuity view believe that people go through the same stages in the same order, but not necessarily at the same rate. So unlike the information processing theory where we have inputs and then we have a set reaction to it, or Piaget's theory where we just accommodate and assimilate information, this is completely, okay, stuff happens, but just not at some rate. Question 4. And I deconstruct the question. I didn't do this in my other videos, so just excuse my bewilderment. So Piaget said that the more children explore, the more they know. Assimilation is part of this model, while discontinuous cognitive development says that learning occurs in stages. Thus, information processing fits best as his software needs updating. That's what this researcher is thinking. Question 5. A child who strives for achievement and mastering various tasks, such as cleaning the dishes or getting good grades in school, random letter, would probably be classified as being in Erikson's what stage of psychosocial development? Industry versus inferiority is the answer. So Erikson has 8 stages of conflicts between ourselves and the world. We're just going to look at the first 4. So there's the basic trust versus mistrust, which happens less than 2 years of age. Then there's autonomy versus shame and doubt between 3 and 5. Initiative versus guilt just has no age restriction. That was a joke, I just forgot to put it in. And then industry versus inferiority from 6 to puberty. So I'm assuming that between 5 and 6 is the initiative versus guilt stage. So basic trust and mistrust is when a child learns what is good in the world and what is bad in the world. Initiative versus guilt is when a child begins to explore the world. This is a good time to put locks on all of the cabinets they can reach, because they begin to explore things, and if you don't let them explore, then they start, feeling guilty for exploring. They may feel like they're not allowed, they don't have the right to explore. And this does carry on in adult life. So if you have kids, let them explore safely. Industry versus inferiority is when a child begins to sense that they can behave in good or bad ways. So they think, okay, I can get good grades. What else can I do? I can wash the floor, I can unstack the dishwasher. And autonomy versus shame and doubt. The child begins to become independent and gain control of their own bodily processes. They begin to try. When they fail, they experience shame and doubt. So this is, all the potty training stage. So there's no potty training going on here. So remembering the first 4 stages, if you want, this is a little poem. So first, the child will trust. They must. Trust versus mistrust. They will fail. To no avail. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. Part of a crew. and sometimes for you, so initiative versus guilt, followed by good or bad, should I try, or just be sad. Industry versus inferiority. So you can remember it by taps. Trust, avail, part, sad. But I don't think it's really necessary. You sort of just think about watching any kid grow and you can just sort of imagine your own scenarios. Question 6. Placed in the strange situation. If you don't know what the strange situation is, there was an experimenter who got a bunch of kids and they had them sit in their mother with a room full of toys, and there was a stranger in there too, and then the mother would leave and then come back, and then they observed how the baby reacted, the infant. So there's a baby called Nathaniel, and he shows no distress when his mother leaves the room, and he isn't very excited when she returns. Overall, he doesn't appear to be very attached to his mother, but he doesn't resist when she picks him up to give him a kiss. Now, Nathaniel would most likely be classified as, by Mary Ainsworth, who created the strange situation, as which of the following? The answer is anxious avoidant. So there's a few attachment styles. An anxious resistance attachment style will a baby will act distressed when their mother holds them. They will demand her attention, distressed when she leaves, and not soothed, and angry when she returns. They'll hold a grudge. Anxious avoidant, no signs of attachment and are unreactive towards the mother leaving or coming back. Securely attached, the baby is upset when the caregiver leaves. The baby is glad to see the caregiver return and does not hold resentment. So anxious avoidant, Nathaniel is not reacting to the mother's presence at all, so that's the right answer. Oh, Nathaniel does not cry when... I'm distracted by the music. Nathaniel does not cry when she leaves and is not soothed when she returns. Nathaniel does not demand attention, does not angrily resist contact, and isn't afraid, so it just completely invalidates all the other answers. Question summary. Oh, that's it. Those are all the questions. There's only 6 questions. Well, there you go. Now, hopefully you've learnt... the summary is shot. Couldn't be bothered. Not a good thing to do, okay? If you can, you should write a summary to this video. But yeah, hopefully you've learned a little bit more about developmental psychology. A few names, Erik, Erikson and Piaget are probably quite important to understanding this area of psychology. So yeah, thanks for watching.